Hey everyone, I'm joined here today with Dr. Suzanne Foxx, and we're honored to have our
Guys,
guest, Mike Young. I have been following him since I first heard of him on Chef AJ a few years ago. He's been on her show a couple times. What attracted me to him is I actually have the same goal as him. I do not consider myself middle-aged. Like Mike, I intend to live to be 150. He wrote a book called
Yeah.
How to Live to be 150, and I hope you have a lot of followers, Mike, because I don't want us to be alone in this. It's gonna be a lonely world if it's only only a handful of people who do this. Although there's people born every day, but still be nice to have people our age when we get there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he also has a website, aplantbaseddiet.org, and I encourage all of our listeners to check it out. But Mike, I'd like you to take us back, first of all, to how you first became vegan. I believe you were vegetarian first for a number of years. If you could tell our audience about that.
Sure. Well, actually, it goes way back before recent history. When I was growing up, as far back as I can remember, I never used to like to eat meat. Never. Okay. I didn't understand why, because I grew up in the 70s and 80s, because I'm 55 now. And, all I knew was it was gross, because my parents would put the different things on the table, and the meat looked, I could see the muscles, I could see the veins, the blood a lot of times, the hair, the skin, whatever was on there. I'm like, this is disgusting. So they used to make me stay sometimes an hour or more at the table because they thought I was going to hurt my health. I was going to get sick or whatnot. And that was one thing when I was growing up. Another thing growing up is I didn't like to ever eat added salt, believe it or not. And the reason I can remember that is because when I used to go to McDonald's, like everybody went there in the 70s and 80s, I told them I want fries, but no salt. Don't put any salt on the fries. I always told them that. And I also never ordered chicken or burger because I didn't eat any of that stuff. So I had a weird order when I was making that. Another thing is my grandmother used to make chicken soup for us, like homemade, and she always made two pots. One of them was added salt. One of them was no added salt. And I always chose the no added salt. Like I didn't understand why. Okay. Again, I don't know. I didn't feel right. Yeah. But let me tell you, by the time I was 15, all that went out because peer pressure, I kind of just caved in. I remember I had my first cheeseburger or hamburger, around that time. I can remember that because I always ordered like a milkshake and fries when I would go to McDonald's, except for that. And then that led me down 15 years of doing the standard American diet. So thing is, when I turned 30, I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you have a 201 cholesterol level. If that 201 doesn't come down, next time I see you, then I'm going to put you on pharmaceuticals. So that was 25 years ago. And, the internet was new. So I went online. There was no famous documentary or anything at that point in time. So I just did my own research, and I determined it was a food. It seemed pretty clear, and keep in mind, I wasn't plant-based. I wasn't vegetarian. I was just eating the standard American diet. I said, oh, it's the food. So I'm going to stop eating the worst things I could imagine. And the worst things I could find was red meat, butter, cheese, and ice cream. Okay. Yeah. So, and I just cut them out immediately. And I felt better actually after that. As the time went on, you don't realize it's a slow progress. So that made me a health nut, I guess, at that point in time. Then 2009, I finally became vegetarian. I just realized I didn't buy meat anymore. Then 2014, when we started the nonprofit, that's when I cut out the dairy. And
so since 2014, you've had the nonprofit going since 2014?
Yes, located right here in Silver Springs, Florida, in the Ocala National Forest.
Nice.
That's a beautiful location, Mike.
Yeah, thanks. I like it's forest bathing too. Yeah, who knew forest bathing is a thing now, right? So
yeah, and I have to say your story really parallels mine. I see so much of myself in your story because, for one thing, growing up, I also thought meat was gross. I mean, my parents somehow got me to eat beef and chicken, but as I told Chef AJ, if it had a cartoon name applied to it, like Porky Pig or whatever, I didn't want to eat it because I thought of the animals.
Right. Right.
Yeah, somehow I made the connection even then. And the other thing that parallels my story with yours is I too went to the doctor and I had hypertension. I didn't want to go on meds, and I never did. So, and you
Perfect.
never did either, right?
That's right. No, I
You,
didn't I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that as time went on, after I made that choice to stop eating those foods, I just started feeling better and better. I'm like, of course, that's what it was. I mean, it seemed obvious to me.
did you feel sick when you first started to eat meat when you were like 15? Do you remember if you
Well,
felt anything? Or?
okay, well, I will say 15 wasn't the first time I had meat because I would try to appease my parents, because they cared about me, they loved me, and they wanted to
Oh,
do the
I see.
best. I
Yeah,
thought the best I could, right? So I
yeah,
would occasionally have some. I didn't want to eat it. Okay.
I
And
see.
I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, I told myself I didn't want to eat. So in terms of the average person who was 15, I'm guessing I probably had a much better baseline going into that first hamburger than the
Most
average person.
definitely.
Yeah, I see. And what led you to start your nonprofit?
Okay, well, I'd say that that journey that lasted 14 years from the year 2000 when I saw the doctor to going 100% vegan and plant-based at 2014. I was doing this all on my own. Thank God for the internet, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't know if I would have found the right resources
We
25
wouldn't
years
have any
ago.
friends if it wasn't for the internet.
True.
That too. That's right. That's right. That's right. And because of the internet, I realized I could connect with people. So why not
Because
start
we're
an
just
organization
way
based on
different than everyone else. Yeah, way different. Yeah.
exactly. So I was like, well, why not start a nonprofit based on free public education? And that's what we did. We started out doing festivals, and we have transitioned away from them to doing, I'd say, what we call health optimization events.
It's almost
That's that.
like I was looking at some of your events and they remind me of Dr. John McDougall and his wife's events that they did in the 80s and 90s. Do you
Really?
think they're
Okay.
similar?
What were they doing? I don't even know.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
in the
Well, I
90s,
guess
I
after we're
wasn't,
done looking here, you can go on there and see what the McDougalls were doing. Because I looked at what you were doing and it seems a little bit more like stuff that they were doing. They're not doing them. They might be doing them still. I don't know. Ever since John McDougall passed, but I do know that
Mhm.
yeah, they were. It sounds very similar.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely what we've done over the years is we were doing festivals for many, many years. The last one we did was about 2 years ago. We developed our own nutrition standard, 6-pillar healthy vegan food is what we call it. And it's super strict. I mean, it's way stricter than anyone else's definition that I know.
Give us a
And
rundown
that's
of what those healthy pillars are.
sure. All right. Well, first of all, no animal products, of course.
Of course.
Everybody's doing that if you're in the plant-based space.
Yeah.
Second is no alcohol. We cannot consider alcohol a health food because it's
It is not
a
a
group
health
one
food.
carcinogen.
It
It's
is.
everywhere. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
but a lot of people will have plant-based and vegan events and they serve alcohol. Well, I guess that's not a health event, right? So we can't say that that's in any way good for your health.
Yeah.
And then let's
Good.
see, the other part is third pillar is you have to have whole plant fiber in your finished dish. So there's a lot of fiberless foods. I know there's even some debate now that I'm kind of in the middle of, I'd say, where does fiber, or so does coffee have any fiber? Okay. I know, well, believe it or not, apparently someone's telling me it does. But I'm
It
like,
does
look,
not. That's just wishful thinking. They're just hoping beyond hope that they
Yes.
got a chance to hold on to their coffee. I mean, they just have to admit it's a bad habit, and that's just how it is.
yes, exactly. So, I mean, because 95% of people don't get enough fiber every single day. So we're not
Exactly.
going to be okay with eating fiberless foods or foods where all the fiber's removed. It's not a health food. And then the
Yeah.
other three pillars you may be familiar with are no added oil, no added
Is
salt,
that no
and
what?
no added oil, no added salt,
Okay. Yep.
and then no refined sugar. And that we use a definition from T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies. So what is okay is dates, molasses, and maple syrup, but nothing else.
Yep.
Okay. Good. How about agave syrups off the? That's gone. Yeah.
Well, it was on our list until about 6 months ago. Actually less than that. Actually, even since we came off the last cruise, which was January,
It's
and
recent.
I looked into more research. Yes, it's
Yeah.
recent because it used to be on the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies website as something that they would recommend, and
Wow.
it's not there anymore. They didn't make any announcement, but I can tell you it's not there anymore. So we don't go by that either. We're not okay with it.
Okay. So you got molasses, you got
maple syrup,
and
then dates, which is a whole fruit anyway, right? Any whole fruit you could use to sweeten something.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So our nutrition standard is super strict. So a lot of people, I think that the word on the street is even people who are whole food plant-based or describe themselves as that. Okay. And I used to describe myself as that. In fact, it even says WFPB on my license plate, but I realized that there's no universal definition for that term. There's many people that say their food is whole food plant-based and they add salt.
And they add animals and eggs and fish. I've seen all this.
Yes.
So I mean, it is it's their definition of it, but it's definitely not the definition that we're all talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I say whole food plant-based vegan. Yeah,
it's not concise because even in whole food plant-based, you can have added oils and everything. You can have a high percentage of calories and fat. Let me also mention one other thing I forgot to mention, which is also a recent addition. To clarify the no added oil, we also say that the dish cannot contain more than 10% of calories from fat. So we're talking about a low-fat diet. Again, this is nothing that anyone else even discusses when they're talking about their standard for their food.
What you're talking about is straight up McDougall, except for the salt part and the sugar. I think he lets you have a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar. But
Yeah. Well, any kind of isolate is how we look at it. Whenever you've got an isolate, that's an imbalanced thing that you're putting into your body. Of course, you will eventually express some form of non-communicable disease because life is all about balance, right? I mean, even if we're talking about, it doesn't matter if it's natural food, because I'd say an oil is from a plant, it's natural, or let's say a drug or a pharmaceutical, that's also an isolate of a chemical. All of these things have negative side effects.
They do, every single one of them.
Yeah.
Can you have?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. Yeah, you go ahead first.
So that was the 6 pillars. Those are your 6 pillars. That makes perfect sense, actually.
It does.
Yeah. So let me also clarify one other thing. The big hang up and hold up, I think, of people is, hey, okay, that's great. You can say all that, but what does this stuff taste like? They're like, oh, I mean, is anyone ready for this? Well, yeah, that's the thing. As long as you really know what you're doing. And I'd say, like on our cruise, we have a whole team of chefs and they are just open-minded. And because it's one thing if you make it yourself, it's another thing if you're going out to some function where somebody else is doing it. And even if you are going to some other function, most likely it's never going to be anywhere close to our 6 pillars of healthy vegan food. But even if it was, what would it taste like? And I will tell you, it's been a challenge for us as time goes on to work with people who are open to doing this. And I'd say we've really got it dialed in now. We didn't at first because it was an experiment, but now I think we've got people who come to some of our events and they say, wow, I wish the whole world could just be like this, And I'm like, well, unfortunately, you can't even go to any restaurant and order any food anywhere.
There's nothing. What did Dr. John McDougall used to say? He used to say you can go have Chinese salt, fat, and sugar. You can go have some Korean salt, fat, and sugar. You can go have some Italian salt, fat, and sugar. But that's basically what you're eating is salt, fat, and sugar.
Well, there's ways to do it. But you have to look kind of crazy because
you do look crazy when you're in there. But the thing is like when I go to a restaurant myself and I tell them, okay, I want you to make these rice noodles for me, and I want you to add this sauce, just these vegetables, and I want you not to use any oil when you cook it. What they bring out from the kitchen is not something anybody wants to eat, including me.
Yeah, you're right. So that's what I'm saying. What we need to do, and we've been successful at doing this, is find open-minded chefs, open-minded restaurant owners. It's very hard to do. Okay, it is extremely hard to do. And even sometimes when we get people, they'll do it for a little while and they realize how much work it is. Because if they're going to make food like this, they can't just source their condiments or dressings or sauces from commercially available sources because there are almost none of them, not the ones that these places are connected with anyway. And so they have to custom make every condiment, sauce, and dressing.
Exactly.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot to ask.
Yes.
I always say I want to open up a restaurant and call it Skinny's. And just serve completely healthy food that tastes delicious. But like you said, that would be very challenging.
Yeah.
it would. But
Right now we're trying to create some one-off experiences. Doing it ongoing is extremely difficult, if not impossible financially, I'd say at this point in time.
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately. I mean, the healthiest option is to eat at home, obviously.
Of course, yeah, yep, definitely.
Yeah. So what are some go-to things that you and your wife eat frequently at home?
Okay, well, we're always on the road. We're rarely at home. That's the thing. We travel all the time. So health optimization travel is like our area of expertise, like leaving your house and doing this. So what we do
how do
is,
you do that? Like say you get up from your wherever you're sleeping. What do you get right now?
all right. Well, first of all, I've got to do my homework. If I'm looking actually over at my car over there, the lift gate is up, and I'm looking at about 20 plus ripe yellow pineapples in the trunk. And what we usually do is we'll have our breakfast. I'd say we're the world's #1 consumer of pineapple, and I mean ripe yellow pineapple. This is a holdback. The reason why people don't eat more fruit is because they can't get good quality, actually ripe fruit locally. If they could, they'd eat it all the time because there's nothing better. At least in our opinion. So we eat about 4 ripe pineapples, whole pineapples that I cut up every morning for breakfast. That's our breakfast between the two of us.
4
on
of
average.
Two tiny people. Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a BMI right in the middle of normal, 21. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd call myself tiny.
Well, I mean, compared to the average person, like I'm a physical therapist. I work in an office all day, and I haven't seen somebody with normal BMI that isn't a heavy smoker in 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. I see. Okay. Yeah. Out in the real world, you're right. Because it's hard. So we're constantly going from place to place. We're traveling, which is actually good for finding ripe fruit. We know where all the sources are. Sometimes we'll go into a market and we'll leave with nothing. Even if it's a dependable place, sometimes they don't have it. Because it's like the produce tells you when to eat it, not the other way around. Everyone else is used to the other way around, which is hyper convenience, like a box or bag that lasts for like a year or two on the shelf. And it's always the same. In my world, it's never the same. I don't know what I'm going to get. So that's why I get 20 plus pineapples in the trunk of my car right now, because I need enough for the next 5 days. That's 5 days worth of food for us. That's it.
Okay, so
but I'm constantly getting more.
You're going to eat these 4 pineapples a day. Then what else do you eat besides the pineapple, just out of curiosity?
Okay, lunch is almost always the same as well. And it's always a salad that we source ourselves, through local markets, of course, checking for the freshest greens. Every day we will go into a different market, get whatever the freshest stuff they have, make it wherever we are. That's our lunch. And then dinner, a lot of times.
You put any dressing on those greens at all? Any kind of dressing?
Yes, there's one dressing that we've been able to find that doesn't meet all 6 pillars of our healthy vegan food, but it meets 5 of them.
And which one is that?
It's actually I wish I actually could go over and get the bottle, but it's
go over and get the bottle. We want to see. This is important. Very important information.
Well, I'll let you guys talk if I'm going to go over and do that, but I can go get it. But it's this brand that it's, what is it called? I can't remember the name either. It's that, but I can tell you, it's only in Sprout.
You can send it to us after.
Okay.
You can send a picture of it after, and we'll kind of splice it up there.
Okay, well, I can go get you like I said, the bottle is 30 feet away at the car. But we have to go to Sprouts Farmers Market. Thank God they are nationwide, because I can go, and this one brand, only one flavor of the brand meets it. The one pillar that's not met is the added sugar. They actually do have a little bit of added sugar in there, but everything else.
What is the dressing called? What is it? What's its name? Like it's is it Thailand or is it Italian or what is it?
It's a spicy mango coconut is what it is.
Okay, that makes sense.
I wish I had a Sprouts.
It has almost no fat.
I don't have a Sprouts where I live.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No. It's the internet for you, I guess. Then you're going to have to Google around and get it.
Yeah, but like I said, if I have more time, and sometimes we do, we'll order stuff from Well Your World. You're probably familiar with them. They make different sauces and dressings that are compliant, but I have to get that shipped. So there's that component too, and we're traveling.
You're moving around a lot, so it's hard to know where to ship it. So you have healthy greens in there. What else do you put on your salad besides just greens?
Okay, well, usually it's arugula, because my wife loves arugula. It's usually half spring mix. We put some of that in, and then we usually will get some kind of butterhead lettuce, a whole head of it, and we'll kind of put that in. And then she likes chives and dill. We'll get fresh chives and dill as well. And then also, and then also some microgreens to put in there in addition to that.
I love microgreens.
Rich loves the microgreens. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of greens, super green. And then, so that's lunch. And then
any other vegetables on there? Do you put tomatoes, peppers, onions, cucumbers?
My wife, Denise, a lot of times she'll get the sweet peppers. Sometimes recently we've been adding, like you could find, since we're traveling, we've found that at Whole Foods, they serve in a box. You can get like, what is it, black beans or chickpeas that are already cooked that are no added salt in a paper container too.
I get those as well, yeah.
So we'll just dump some of that on the salad, you know, when we're on the road.
Good job, yeah. And how about dinner? What do you guys do for dinner?
Well, dinner is either we have an air fryer in the car. We can cook potatoes and we'll use Well Your World sauce on it. That's if we make it ourselves. If we're, you know, sometimes we're actually at our condo or a different place, we'll cook up some usually organic pasta with sauce that I make myself, red sauce. I have to make. Heavenly. Yeah, I have to make it myself though, because you know you can't buy any sauce that doesn't have added oil or added salt or both.
How about the pasta? What kind of pasta are you talking about?
Well, usually organic, and usually we don't necessarily have to spend much money. Whatever the house brand is, if we're at Harris Teeter,
like
a lot of the stuff that they have. Yeah, usually whole wheat for sure. Okay, yeah, that's what you usually get. Okay. And then we'll make rice dishes as well. And I know that, you know, in terms of a fat perspective, as I've learned over the years too, just in my own eating, you know, Walter Kemper talked about the rice diet. White rice has so much less fat. Not that brown rice has a ton of fat. It's just that white rice will offset more mistakes that you might make somewhere else than the brown. Because I know that that's been I think a lot of people still are not necessarily on the same page with that. But
yeah.
So you're saying that it's okay to eat the white rice?
Well, if people have trouble maintaining a low enough percentage of calories from fat, which I believe is 99% of everyone out there, then they're going to see, then you're going to see more benefit from eating white rice than eating brown rice. Because
you know, I feel this in my heart, Mike, but I can't tell you like how much pushback people give me about that, because, you know, my husband is Asian and I see a lot of Asian people because of where I live. It's a lot of people here are Asian, and the Asian people are very slim and very healthy. And I'd say 80 to 90% of their diet is white rice. And I'm thinking, if it's working for them, why are we fighting this rice so hard, you know?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that it is true that there's lower nutrition content in that, right? I mean, of course, you're stripping away some of the outsides, but it also could be part of the rice that's contaminated that you're stripping away. So there could be some more benefit from that. But yeah, I mean, you're not getting as much fiber, I think, but you're still getting tons because white rice is a whole food. Actually, I'd say white rice is better than any form of pasta because I don't see pasta in nature. I mean, that is a manufactured food.
It's delicious, though.
Yeah, I mean, I eat it. Yeah, and actually, it's hydrating too because in terms of cooked foods, because you're putting that water in, and that's another key I'd say that we dial in on our own personal lives is what kind of water are you preparing your food with, and I don't mean just filtered water because everybody says their water is filtered. I mean what's really in that water and what's not in that water. I think that just to give you an idea, like, well, Richard, since you read the book, you know how hypersensitive I am. Most of what I know is based on my own personal experience, and I'm guessing you're similar. And one of the things I've noticed over the years is I can't cook with water that comes out of somebody's tap. Now, not to say that they might have a true reverse osmosis or distillation system that's maintained properly and functioning at 100%, and I could probably use that, no problem. But I was, other than that, I would get sick. I'm just telling you, I would get sick because of all the garbage that they stick in that water so that you're not passing on pathogens. It's all killing everything, including the person who's drinking it at the end.
Well, can I ask your thoughts on fluoride? Because I did get reverse osmosis because one thing I was worried about was fluoride in the water, and among other things. But what is your thoughts specifically about that?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't claim to be an expert on that, but I do think that the only practical use of fluoride, from my knowledge, is to put it directly on your teeth and go nowhere else. If you're going to use it, because I think anything else is going to cause harm because it's an isolate again. and you don't want that getting into your system. I'd say that about everything.
Yeah, the thing I would say about the fluoridated water is I grew up overseas where the water is not fluoridated. And I was having my baby in a German hospital, and they were like asking me if I needed to remove my teeth. And I said, "What are you talking about?" And all I could think is, are there women my age? I was in my 20s.
Oh my gosh.
Who have dentures because there is no fluoride in the water. So I'm just like, that's a common thing. That's not good, So I think we're doing the fluoride in the water because nobody's going to actually just go to, I heard 50% of Americans don't even go to the dentist. So, that's their only chance at getting fluoride at all is the water. Then my gosh, they have no choice but to just give it to them that way because at least they have teeth for a while anyway. But overseas, it's common to have no teeth or very bad teeth.
Well, I actually gave up fluoride though because I had my mercury fillings removed. And it was a holistic dentist, and he gave me a whole lecture on the dangers of fluoride. So I haven't had it in a couple of years.
Yeah, I just worry about, it's, they say it hardens your pineal gland or something like that. I don't think that's true. I think it's the animal products and oil and sugar that are hardening your pineal gland. I don't think it's the fluoride. But the fluoride is not great for you, but it's way better than rotting your teeth out of your head. So
yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point. I would say that I also consider your dental health a good reflection of your overall health. So I would definitely want to do what's best for your dental health because I do see a connection there.
Oh yeah. Once like even if you have a dog or something, once their teeth are gone, their quality of life starts to go down, and pretty soon they're no longer with us.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Mike, can you tell us more about your book because a lot of our listeners are probably thinking the title is crazy because I'm sure you've heard that before, but I really firmly believe that we can live well beyond 100. It's really about the quality of life and how you live it.
Of course. Yeah, let me just say that we're pushing the envelope, okay? We're trying to do the best we possibly can. That's why we say that what we're doing is health optimization. And the book is all about health optimization, even though I don't mention that term because that's a more recent term. And let me define that for you. Everything we do, we want to define. So what does health optimization mean? Because the book is all about it. We put that on our website. And what it is, it's a balanced state of health that is indicated by a lack of non-communicable disease, or it's verified, you could say, by a lack of non-communicable disease. So how do we know when we got there? Just when you don't have this non-communicable disease. And of course, non-communicable disease is 80% of all medical costs, 80% of all deaths. Actually, some people say it's more than that, but it's not transmittable. You didn't catch it from anybody. So lifestyle in almost every case is the cause. So the book is all about good habits. It's about my experience with good habits. And like I said, when I was growing up, my parents thought I was going to get sick. I thought I was gonna die early or be malnourished or whatnot. And I am the healthiest person in my immediate family. I would say I don't have any issues at all. And I would expect everyone to be the same. So 0 non-communicable disease. So I'm in this balanced state, but it's a balance. At any time, I could make some bad decisions with habits, and I'll go off of that balance quickly. So the book is super long. The book is of the premise that the average person lives to be 75, and the average person was not taught any of this information. So they're doing almost everything wrong. All the habits are pretty much wrong, yet they still live to 75. So life wants to continue. Life is a powerful force. So what happens if you would do everything that we possibly know, have all good habits going forward? Well, I think your lifespan should be able to be doubled. And all of that should be HealthSpan, because we're really focused on HealthSpan and longevity. HealthSpan meaning you're in a balanced state of health during that time. You're not suffering for 40 years at the end of your life, because right now it's about 10 or so. Well, I'd say it's more than 10.
I'd say it's 30 based on my patients. What I see, there's about 30 years of suffering going before they finally die. It's really horrible.
Yeah. We don't want that for anybody. Our secret mission is to have fun. So people who are sick, they're not having as much fun as they should be having, even if they're having any at all.
They can't walk because their knees hurt. They can't do any they can't lift up their grandkids because their back hurts. They can't get on the floor and play with anyone. They want to come to my office and play with my dogs, but they can't because they're so unhealthy. They can't get down far enough to play with them.
Yes. So that's all bad. We don't want that for anybody. that's why we say we're free public education. This is a free resource on our website. Just go to live to150.org. It's a tab on our website, and it's a playlist on our YouTube channel. So we don't need to print anything. We're zero waste. You just listen to it like a super long podcast or audio book, okay? Because it's super long, 150 chapters and 3 introductory chapters.
Holy cow, Mike! When you wrote a book, you wrote a book. That thing is War and Peace right there. Goodness.
That's because there's so many things someone could choose to do right or wrong.
You're right.
You know, I mean,
right.
And they all have an impact. Now we know that the food is the majority is the food. Okay. Yes, we know that. But there's still all those other things are going to impact your life, positive or negative as well. I mean, some people have such, I don't know, like dramatic stress in their lives that just doesn't matter what they're doing with the food. They're never going to be able to live a balanced life because of massive amounts of stress going on.
How about, do you like Dr. Greger's stuff too? Do you use him as a resource?
Sure. He's done some great work. He reads the literature there. I'd say that I use the LLMs more than anything nowadays. I think back in the day, that was a great thing to have where the average person couldn't understand what was going on. But now the LLMs like, ChatGPT or Grok or whatever else you might use.
Can you just, what
the
are the
limited... Yeah, the language learning models, like ChatGPT or Grok, those things, you don't need to know anything anymore. You just type in your question and I wish I had this stuff, but so
that's
like,
true. But have you noticed like sometimes you do that and they just spit back like the general answer and then you're just like, hey, but what about this? And then all of a sudden it'll kind of clarify.
Yes.
It depends on how you.
Yeah.
Yes. How you phrase it, I'd say that you as an individual, including me, anyone, you have to learn how to manage these LLMs properly. Yeah. And when you really dial it in, it'll give you exactly what you want, but it requires some skill to learn how to ask the super, super detailed question that's required.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these resources are great. I mean, we, as an organization, we don't see too much disagreement on what actually works because all we care about is results, right? So if I'm talking about,
I am 100% agreeing with what you're saying. It is absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know what works. Yep. The question is, how are you going to do that when you leave your house? That's the question. Because if
you guys are actually answering that every day.
Yeah. Because if someone can't leave their house and do this, we are way, way, way far away from this ever being mainstream. So that's the first step. People have to be able to leave their house.
I mean, you're making me just want to get in my car and go buy some pineapple right now.
Yeah. Well, also, let me tell you, I need to clarify that as well. Has to be ripe. I'd say that most people have never eaten a ripe pineapple. Now, when I know they have all these tricks from putting them upside down,
by the stem or something.
Okay. The only thing that I will acknowledge is a ripe pineapple is it needs to be almost completely yellow. Almost completely yellow. And most people will acknowledge, I've never seen a pineapple like that in the store. That's because the food is an industry. They come in and they cut everything off when it's time to harvest and they bring it to you. And, the problem with pineapples is they also don't ripen after you pick them. They will rot. They will start to decompose. But most people, again, will come to me and say, Mike, my mouth hurts. I don't think I can eat this stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Good for you. I'm like, it hurts because it's not ripe. That's why it hurts.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, like Richard was asking about things in the books. One of the things in the book I talk about is just like, why do we have color vision? Well, you would never be able to see the ripe fruits if you didn't have it.
That's true.
Okay, yeah. And like people play with colors all kinds of ways. You look in the candy aisle; they have all these fake fruits. If you ask me, is what they are. But without that color vision, you can't tell. But with it, you can dial in. You say, oh, this is a brilliant color, whatever it might be. But the problem is that a lot of the food industry also kind of uses that to their advantage, I'd say. Because tomatoes, for instance, most of the time they're picked green because they ship really well when they're green. And then they'll gas them to turn them red. It's not the same as if it actually ripened on the plant. Yes, and it would never get in that way unless they gas them like that. And that's all because it's an industry. So again, we're going back to the thing where most people have really hardly ever experienced true ripe fruit. If you pick a red tomato off the plant and you eat it, you know how good that is. But you can't consistently do that. That's the problem. Society isn't set up for that right now.
I feel like you've set me up for this challenge where I'm just going to spend the rest of the week looking for a yellow pineapple.
Well, find some good sources.
Watch it.
I will say, if you can find it, buy it, and talk to your grocers there. Say, please get more like this. Please get more like this.
Okay.
And that way they'll be more available. They'll grow more. That's all. This is a grassroots effort. You got to vote with your dollar. And I kind of mentioned that in the book too. You got to choose who you're hanging out with. You got to choose what you're doing, and you got to make your intentions clear. Like, talk to your grocer. Say, I want more ripe fruit. You got to get me more. I'll buy it. I'll bring my friends in to buy it. But you have to work a little harder at getting the good stuff for me.
Yeah.
You were talking about friends, and you got me thinking. I have a question for you as well, but I wanted to share a story about, a few weeks ago, I met up with a few friends, and they're my age, and he's telling me he has hypertension now, high cholesterol, diabetes. He did a calcium score test, and that was high. And I was telling him about how my mom reversed her diabetes. So he was telling me that's too extreme to do a diet change. So my question is, do either of you, this is for you as well, Suzanne, do either of you have friends who are healthy as you, or are they all falling apart?
Falling apart. They are all falling apart.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, that's why I think it's important for people who really want to do the best they can to go out and do it. That's why, like, when I was describing what 6-pillar healthy vegan food standard is, it doesn't match up with what most other events and experiences that people are doing that are sustainable, I would say. I'm not talking about interventions. I'm talking about, like, the food we serve, you can eat all day long, every day, and you're only going to get better and better. Yeah. We just need more of that, because people need to see it. Because I will tell you, one of the motivators for me in starting these health optimization events, and if you go back 2 years ago, we hadn't even started them. And all I can tell you was, I was going to my own events, I was eating the food at my own events, and I was feeling like garbage. I was hurting my own health, eating the food at my own events. And I'm like, I know we can do better than that, because the only question is anybody going to show up, and what's the food going to taste like? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we are. I mean, I think that in order to convince people, we're at that next level now, not just us, but everyone, all society.
Yeah, I had a patient the other day.
Do it.
She has autism, so she is clear with just saying exactly what she feels. She's not, trying to hide everything all the time. And I told her she was having some serious gut issues, and she was going to the GI doctor, and they were doing colonoscopies and endoscopies, and they were saying, try this drug, try that drug, try this drug. And I just looked at her squarely, and she's in her mid-30s, very overweight. Yeah. I said, I just looked at her squarely, and I said, hey, what you are eating is what's doing that to your body. And she looked at me and she goes, I know, and I don't care. I would actually rather die.
Wow.
That was pure.
Yeah.
That was very clear.
I've seen that people have to want to live. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
they have
if
to
they're
want
not
to live. If they don't want to live, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and it's a vicious circle, unfortunately, because if you're not having a good life that you don't want to live, you never get out of that. But if you are having a good life and you get out of that paradigm, then you just want to keep going. But most people have never experienced that. That's the problem.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it's true. They don't realize how good they can feel.
Yeah.
I feel like if you could just put her in a locked ward for 3 weeks and feed her pineapples and salad and spaghetti, at the end of the 3 weeks, she'd be like, you know what? I could do this forever, and I want to live. This feels good. I'm amazing.
Yeah. Well,
you can't do that.
And also, again, I want to kind of touch on why we're doing this, and how we moved away from doing festivals and so forth. So many events that are plant-based, health, or vegan, they don't give specific nutritional information on the food that they are serving, even at conferences and major professional events like this. I have to go in. Yeah, I have to say, if I'm going to a lifestyle medicine conference, we've been to some recently. I'm like, well, I need to email them. Okay, what type of food? It says plant-based. Well, what does that mean? I have no idea. So I have to talk to them, and ultimately it's the same conversation. It's well, yeah, it's going to be no animal products, and we'll use as little salt as we need, as little oil. So I'm like, well, I don't want any. So usually I won't even be able to go to the events because they're not going to make me special food unless they agree. Okay, we'll get you something on the side, but most of the time they won't do that.
I don't know if you've ever been to Dr. the one that's in Washington, D.C., the PCRM conference in
Dr. Bernard.
every year.
Dr. Bernard.
Yeah, Dr. Bernard, yeah, Neil Bernard. He has like he serves the food like that, and some of it says does contain oil, does contain salt, does contain sugar. So he'll put like a little sign on it to let you know. But his food, from what I understand from the other participants, is as close as it gets in these giant festival kind of things.
Well,
Dr. Furman, I'm sorry. Yeah, Dr. Furman got kicked out. Well, not kicked out, but he was told not to come back because he actually said it as it is. He didn't like the food there.
He didn't like the food at the PCRM?
No, not there. Well, it was another event.
Oh, a different event?
I will tell you, it doesn't matter what event we're talking about. If you want to get them to tell you that they're going to adhere to a certain specification, they will never admit to it. And I will include that event you talked about because I'd want it to go as well. But it's an expensive event, and I don't want to harm myself with the food while I'm there for a weekend. Just like
I used to go. It's a highlight of my year going there. It's awesome. And the food is it's just delicious, but it's probably not all super.
Well, I can tell you. Yeah, I can tell you from having looked into the event last year that it's nowhere close to our 6-pillar healthy vegan food standard. It's not the same. Like how you were saying, like
you heart here, Mike. You're breaking my heart. All right.
Yeah, well, that's where we are. I'm saying this is why, like, if we don't have enough evidence or enough positive health stories to tell people, a lot of it's because we can't even experience that as someone who's trying outside of our own houses. And that needs to change. And I will tell you, we are pushing the boundary. There is nobody that is going as specific as we are. In fact, we are so specific, like with our cruise event, our health optimization cruise, that you can get, of course, all the food meets our 6-pillar healthy vegan food. Of course, all of it does. But you can also choose to eat 100% raw if you want, or you can switch back raw to cooked, whatever you want. We have gourmet, multi-course, all-you-can-eat dishes the whole time. And we say no portion control, 0 portion control, because the problem with portion control is that it's going to fail. That type of a diet will fail. But the reason why you need it, the reason why you need it is because you're eating too high of a percentage of calories from fat. That's why we cap it now at 10%. Yes. As long as you don't exceed 10%, you eat all you want. You won't be able to eat anymore, and then you're still all good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm a big eater. That's the thing. When I go out, I want to eat. I'm such a big eater.
We're talking 4 pineapples a day, Mike, between you and your wife. That's a lot of pineapples. That's a lot. So yeah, I know. No doubt you guys, big appetites. No doubt.
Yeah, that's why I eat this way too. I mean, I was a big eater. That's why I got to be obese until I, found this way of eating. Yeah. I'd still be heavy probably.
Yeah, probably so. Me too. I would be overweight with.
So the way. And here's a simple way. Like, I got a lot of little sayings. Like, one of the chapters in the book is kind of like a bunch of sayings that I have. And I'd say one of them is that most people are eating, well, this isn't just a saying, this is just a life axiom, I'd say. Most people are eating food-like products. Food that your body doesn't recognize as food, okay? And the reason why is that's what creates the non-communicable disease. As long as you eat stuff that your body recognizes as food, you will never express non-communicable disease. And that's one of the key reasons why we are as, I'd say, hyper-specific as possible, because we want to dial in what does the human body recognize as food, and all we care about are positive results. We don't care about anything else. If somebody has some new concept, we'll hear it. We're open-minded, but right now, unfortunately, I wish others were doing a more specific job than we are, but they're not right now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they get there.
Well, I love it. I love everything you guys stand for. I really feel the passion coming from you. I'm so excited to look at more of your resources and go find some yellow pineapples.
Yeah. Well,
I'm curious, Mike. Are you? Do you have any more chapters in the book, or is 150 it?
150 is what I came up with. Yeah. Each one is a different health span and longevity, concept, health optimization concept. So,
if you think of more, could it go beyond that? Do you think?
Well, it already has gone a little bit beyond that, but I kind of, I'd say, brought it so it can't go too far away, because I have a concept on or a chapter on epigenetics. If you're familiar with epigenetics, that's just the idea where whatever, garbage in, garbage out, which is the way most people do it. They're putting garbage in their body. They have horrible expressions of their body. So as long as you put the right things in, it will take care of almost everything. So that kind of covers things that I may have missed by talking about epigenetics.
Definitely. And I'd like to leave you both with this question, because my dad will often say this to me. It's always annoyed me for years, and I'm sure, Mike, you feel the same way. I always hear the expression, wait till you get to be my age. And that always bothered me, because made me think that I have sickness to worry about, when I get to his age. Yeah.
Well, and that's because, I hear you.
Yeah.
It's just his way of making himself. He's like, look, you don't know what you're talking about because you have not been in my shoes before. I can just do whatever I want to do because it's the same thing my patient said. He doesn't care.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, and you'll never be your parents' age. You'll never catch up. So, not while they're alive anyway. So the thing is, I will say to people that nobody ever stays the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. So if you're not actively trying to get better, it's automatic. You're getting worse. I'm just not going to be in that group of people.
Yeah. That's a good way to think about it, Mike. I really think that's a great way to think about it.
It is. Yeah. I hope. I was going to say, I hope our audience checks out your book, because it really is awesome.
And of course, you'll send us a picture of your salad dressing. We're all very excited to see what the heck that is.
Yeah. It's actually. Now I remember. It's called Cindy's Kitchen. Cindy's Kitchen is the name.
Oh,
yes, and it's and it's only one though. I don't have the Sprouts, but they sell it at a few other stores. I've seen that. Yeah. Yes, but it has to be the spicy mango coconut. It can't be any, because even my wife sometimes, because we're always tempted. Okay, she's like, oh, I can just get the balsamic they have, and I'm looking at the sodium. It's definitely got some added sodium. It's not super high, but I don't want that to be a cheat meal. I don't want. That's the thing. Cheat meals I talk about in the book too. I don't want that to be a cheat meal every day at lunch. Okay, if I'm going to have a cheat meal, I want it to be something I really enjoy, like once in a while. Yep.
You don't want it to be a daily activity, because then it's not a cheat anymore. Now it's your lifestyle. Yes, that's the problem. Yeah, and also, and how lucky are you, Mike? How lucky are you that you have come upon a woman who will join you in this process and just go right along with it? That is beautiful. Well, I don't know about go right along with it. We're always tempted. Okay. And she maybe more than I, because no one's ever 50-50 equal. And I'll say that Denise is the greatest. I tell her all the time that she's the greatest, because the only thing that's required actually to do that, and most people can't do it, I'd say, is just to have an open mind, not just go with what society has told you or what your parents who loved you and programmed you because they really thought they were doing the best they could told you. They did. And they did. So the step outside of that is very difficult. And actually, that's another concept in the book. I talk about how difficult it is to change even one habit. In fact, that's the most difficult thing you can ask anybody to do, is just change any habit, because they're so ingrained in people's personality. Yeah. Life is already hard enough, and then you're asking them to do something that's going to make them a little uncomfortable for 3 weeks. Yeah. So this again gets back to why we're doing experiences. We're doing events. And actually, if you want folks out there to know where our calendar is, it's at plantbasedevents.info. Plantbasedevents.info just lists our events that we have. We have everything from, we talked about this health optimization cruise. We have a health optimization safari. These are annual events. That's 2 right there. Yep. Then we have some plants to table, which is our take on farm to table. Only it's not only our 6-pillar healthy vegan food, but it's also gluten-free and also fully organic and on the farm where they grew almost all the ingredients. Awesome. Like that is a strict, we have one in Northern Virginia, one in Florida, where hopefully we'll add a second one, but that's all on our calendar, plants to table. And then we have our health optimization clubs, which is a new thing where we are actually we're just holding discussions. That's what they are. Because I feel like we've gotten to a point, like I was mentioning, where we know the information. We've heard this so many times. Well, why don't we take one concept and discuss it? So it's either a potluck if you're in person, or it's remote on Zoom like we're doing right now. And thanks to technology, we can do that now. Yeah. Yep. Good idea. That's awesome. Great information, Mike. Absolutely just stellar.
It is.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, we really appreciate this, Mike. I've been wanting to meet you for a while since you've been on Chef AJ. Just know that there are people out there like me who admire your work, and keep doing what you're doing. I think you'll be reaching a lot of people.
Yep.
Thanks. And I don't feel like I can convince anyone, because you were talking about how hard it is to talk to people around you and they're not doing it, until I'm like 110. When I'm 110 and I'm doing all this, then everyone will be like, oh, of course we're doing that. Yeah, this guy's 110 over here. But it's gonna be a while.
You know what? I want to interview you when you're 110, because I think all three of us.
We will make this a tradition where we come back every 50 years and have this podcast.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Great talking to you. And I love the background.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. And I'm sure the forest will be here in another 50 years. Hopefully hundreds, thousands of years, the forest will still be here.
Will be. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you for having me. All right. Okay. Bye-bye.